So I know that we already showed you some different examples of how you can segment, but let's go into step by step in terms of how you can segment. So the first thing that you need to know is that you can segment without segmenting. When we drilled down from the location, we were segmenting, as I mentioned. And so one of the things that you want to think about is that you can actually just drill down already into the custom reports already provided by Google. And so let's take a look at another example. So we're back to the home screen again in the Google Analytics account. I'm going to click on Master View again just to be consistent. And I'm going to go down here and you'll notice that there's three areas that you should be familiar with: acquisition, behavior, and conversions, which we also refer to in this course as outcomes. I'm going to click on the acquisitions. So remember, acquisitions are the ways that people find your site. So this is everything that happens before they get to your site. And I'm going to take a look at all traffic, and then I'm going to take a look at channels. And then I want to scroll down here and look at, let's say, well, we can look at them all right now. And so what we can see here is the way that the channels, or the way that the traffic is coming to our site. Is it coming through social? This is all social. Are they organically searching? Is it direct? Referrals? Are affiliates? Paid search display? Okay, so these are the major traffic areas. You notice that even other sessions, only 3 sessions resulted from other areas outside of this. And so one of the things that I want to look at quickly, and again, it's all about revenue, right? So, well, when you're operating an e-commerce site like this is, we have $92,000 of revenue coming from where? Referral. Okay, so if I click on referral, I can start drilling down into these reports. I'm segmenting. I'm starting to find information about this data, and so I can become more informed. And so when I do that, let's see if I can just shrink this up here so we can look at it all together. Sorry if this is a little small. So I can see that 90,000 of that 92,000 is again coming from the mall.googleplex.com, which really isn't a surprise, but that's where it is. And then, you know, sites.google, they're the best, they're their own best referrer, of course. But we also notice that we have some money coming from outside of Google. This deals, let's see, Deal Spotter. I think that's what it is, Deal Spotter. You know, gosh, $500 has come from them. Maybe this is something, again, a dealer that we want to talk with, that we can partner with, so that we can get even more traffic from them. So once again, we're making decisions based on the data that we already have in front of us. I didn't segment. I didn't have to create a custom segment. This is already there. One of the things I can do here as well, so I'm back to the default channel grouping that we just saw: social, organic, etc. And I got there, again, from acquisition, all traffic, channels. One of the things that I also can do is click on source medium, and it will show me, again, where the source and the medium came from. So not only now do I see, okay, we have people from YouTube, but what's the medium? How did they get there? Google. Oh, they organically searched in Google. Okay, so this is telling me my SEO is working. Search engine optimization. Right, I can continue to go through each of these and dissect them. How many pages are they looking at? So wow, people from Googleplex, obviously, are coming in and spending a lot of time. They're going through multiple pages here. Those are actively engaged users. And again, we know that because they're spending lots of money. And so I can play with this information to find things that I'm most interested in. So again, sometimes the segment, you don't have to do a lot of work. You can look at the traffic right from, or you can look at the sessions and the information right from what Google already provides us. So using standard reports is a really easy way to get this information. So the second thing that you can do, so the first is to drill down on the reports that are already there. The second thing is to use standard built-in segments. So if you, we're going to go back over to Google Analytics. Again, we're going to take a look at the master view. Okay, we're going to, and again, that's how you get there, from home to master view. Okay, and so what I want to do is actually add a segment. So at the top of my dashboard, so it automatically will move you over to reporting, just so you understand that that's how that got there. But right here at the top, you'll see add segment. So here's all the users, 100% of the sessions. I'm going to click on add segment. And what I'm going to show you here is segments that are created for you. And so one of the things that, there we go. These are all segments. These are ones that I've already created, or some of the ones that I've created. But if you click on System provides you already some standard segments that you can use. And so all you have to do, let's say that we want to take a look at all of our mobile traffic. And so I just click on this and drag it up here to choose a segment. And I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And you'll notice that down here, the numbers change. And so what I can see is all users, and then the orange box shows me all the mobile traffic, and it's labeled appropriately, so it makes it pretty easy. So you can see that our mobile traffic makes up, excuse me, about 16%, 16.5% of our traffic, which is okay. However, what I want to do then is I can start looking at the drill downs, right? And so now that I have this applied, I can actually remove this, make mobile traffic my primary, and I can begin to start drilling down on information. So let's say I want to see where people are coming from who are using mobile. I can click on country down here with language, and it's going to show me just my mobile traffic. Okay, so and again, how do I know that? Number one, because it's labeled here, but number two, because that's my primary segment located here, and it's in blue. That's how one of the ways that you can tell that. Okay, and so you can see that my bounce rate here is 46%. Now, it's much more useful, obviously, if we have another segment that we can use with it, and that's why we like to use or leave the all traffic up there. So let's, again, just for repetition, show you how to re-add all traffic. So I go back up to Add Segment, click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and click on All Users and drag it up to this box. Now, again, if you're not seeing all users in this box or in this space here, if you click on System, it should be in the very top. So click and drag. Okay, and so now I'm going to hit Apply. And what it will do is show me the comparison. Mobile traffic is now being my primary, right? All users is my orange. How does my mobile traffic compare to my users? So take a look at the bounce rate. So the bounce rate of my mobile traffic is actually lower than my general, which is really odd. Not usually the case, but that means that their mobile site is extremely well built. My new sessions, I actually get more new sessions from everybody else. My mobile traffic's lagging a little bit. So they're probably, but it's very minor. They're probably doing a better job of getting people hooked in, and then these are folks coming from their mobile site maybe a second time, or they might be clicking on ads and being referred. And so you can take a look at all of this information. And again, we're looking at geography, and so highest traffic is United States, followed by India, followed by United Kingdom, etc. Okay, and so that's one way that you can use these standard built-in segments to be able to look at your data. So let's take a look at another one. So we're going to remove this one, and we're going to take a look at another segment. And so if we go to System here, just to run through these, and we'll spend a little bit more time with these in a couple seconds here. I'll show you how they overlay with acquisition behavior and conversions or outcomes. But we have some direct traffic, we have mobile, non-bounce sessions, so this is removing all of the bounced sessions out of your data. Multi-session users, people who come back, this is one of my favorites, more than one time. New users, people who are brand new to the site. I like to use this to find out, especially from acquisition, where did they come from? Where are we getting people coming to our site? Mobile and tablet traffic. So again, I know that some of the previous clients I've worked with launched a new mobile site with me, and we wanted to make sure that our mobile traffic was performing well and that we didn't have a big bounce rate. When you have a high bounce rate with mobile traffic and tablet traffic, usually your site is not optimized for mobile viewing, or they're having trouble. Sometimes buttons are overlapping, and so sometimes it's a technical issue that you need to talk with your IT folks about. People who convert, so these again are people who complete goals for you, sessions with conversions, etc. And so you can use these without doing anything. I'm going to teach you how to build a segment, but this, without doing anything, these are all of the segments that are available to you, which is quite a few, and very valuable for taking a look at your traffic and information. Okay, so now, as teased, we're now going to take a look at creating custom segments. So maybe you're looking at the system segments from analytics and you're saying, wait a minute, what I want to look like or what I want to look for is not up here. So how do I create my own? It's a great question. So I'm going to show you how to find them from acquisition, behavior, and conversions or outcomes. And then we're going to create some together. And then part of your homework this week is to create your own. So to create custom segments, the first thing we're going to take a look at again is that acquisition. How do they come to your site? So this is activity that you undertook to attract people or robots to your site. And so the first, I guess a couple things that you would be interested in would be, what search engines are they coming to my site from? Who are the referring websites? What campaigns are most effective or not effective? Conference presentations and trade shows. This is when we add something called tracking parameters to custom URLs. So, we have abc.com/English conference. And it can't be just as simple as that. We actually want to make sure that there are custom URLs to these sites or parameters to these sites so that people will land on our web page and we know where they came from. Billboards, TVs, radios, again, we can use vanity URLs. So these are URLs made just for that campaign that redirect to website URLs that have this tracking parameter built in. And so you might have comevisitus.com. Comevisitus.com refers to a URL that is much longer, and I'll show you tracking parameters later in the term. But the tracking parameters are custom built URLs that you build, and there's actually a tool to do that. And they include these URLs, these longer URLs include information that allows your analytics tools to say, oh, this is coming from this particular URL, this particular campaign. And so then I can pull all the information in specifically for that campaign, which is awesome, because then I know exactly where my traffic's coming from. The old adage, I've probably already said this, the old adage is that 50% of my advertising is not working if I only knew which 50%. And really what analytics has done is allowed us to get really smart with our advertising dollars and spend very, very much more strategically, I guess. And that's always a good thing, because advertising dollars are always limited, and we're always having our feet held to the fire and why we're spending what we're spending and why we're spending so much of what we're spending, of their hard-earned money. Take a look at how to do this. Okay, so we're going to go up here to add segment, just like we were before. But instead of stopping here with, again, the built-in segments when we click on system and then chose one of these, I actually want to go over here and I want to click on new segment. And when I do that, it's going to open up a box that gives me a number of choices. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is name this segment. We're going to just call it geography. Probably want to name it something a little bit more exciting and descriptive. Okay, and so here you can see that you have a number of categories that we can choose from: demographics, technology, behavior, first session date, traffic sources, enhanced e-commerce, and then some advanced sections down here. We're just going to start simply, because this is the first screen, with demographics. And so let's go ahead and drill down to a specific location. Let's compare two locations. So let's say we want to compare everybody who is in, let's say, the Americas. Oops, when I do that, if you hit tab, it does not work the same way that I want it to. Okay, and so actually we're going to name this Geography Americas. Actually, let's call it Americas. And we're going to save that. Okay, so this is basically saying anybody who is in the continent that contains Americas. If I just put America, didn't change anything. Okay, so we're going to save it. So what you can see now is that my segment, Americas, has now showed up in my all segments. So anytime you create a new segment, it's going to arrive here and you can search for it. So that way if you create a segment and you're like, that's awesome, I hope I never forget it. Perfect. There it is. You can go back to it and locate it. But what we're interested in, again, is creating a new segment. I want to look at everybody coming from India. No, we're doing continents. So how about if we do Europe? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say anybody coming from Europe, if I can spell it correctly, save. And now what we're able to do is compare traffic from the Americas to Europe. Okay, and so there's the traffic. You see here, what's interesting, what stands out most to me is that right here, August 13th and 14th, we had a huge dip in traffic coming from the Americas, but Europe has remained pretty steady. And you can see what's interesting here too is there's some natural ebbs and flows based on the day, probably day of the week. Again, without knowing their business very, very well, I can't speak to that. But what I do know is that there's some trends happening, but there's also some major dips here. And it would be interesting to see, yep, Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. Ah, interesting, isn't it? So we then can look at the bounce rates, we can look at new sessions, we can look at page views, just focused on these two continents. Then we can get even more specific here and take a look, and you see as you click on these, the Americas and Europe, your two segments are going to show up here, and then what you're looking at is going to show up at top. So I'm looking at Chrome. Okay, the majority of traffic is coming both areas from Chrome, so on and so forth. But down here, Firefox, Europe actually performs better with Firefox. And so again, you can take a look at these and make some decisions based on them. So the next thing that you want to do is we looked at acquisition. The next thing we want to do is look at the behavior once they get to your site. And so behavior refers to the activity that people undertake on your website. This would include things like bounced visits, people who watch videos during their visit or download something during their visit, people who visit more than X number of times, people who use site search, people who came and put things in their cart and then they left. So all of those things help us understand what people are doing once they actually get to your site. One of the things I love to do is look at really engaged traffic. And so we're going to use that as the example that I'm going to walk you through with behavior. Now, your definitions as you enter the quote real world and start working for a company, the definitions of really engaged traffic are going to change for you. As I mentioned, we're going to go into some more advanced segments. So you're going to click on Add Segments. So I'm back on the Google page here, or Analytics page. I'm going to go down to Add a New Segment. And then what I want to do is go down here to Advanced Conditions. Okay, so again, we're looking at really engaged traffic. And the reason that your definition is going to change is because of this step here. And so the first thing that we're going to do is look at page depth, which is standard across the board. But what you don't know until you really start looking at your traffic and understanding it is who's engaged and how many pages is a really engaged person. And so one of the things that we're going to use to determine who a really engaged person is the average number of pages per session. And so you scroll down in this is a standard dashboard. Every dashboard will show pages per session. And so this is the average number of pages per session for all users. So we can see that it's 4.76. And so what I'm really interested in knowing is show me or create a segment of people who are above the average pages per session. And so what I'm going to do is go back up here, and again, we found this by going to Add Segment, New Segment, and then Conditions. I searched for page depth in the drop-down, just click in the box and type in page depth. And then what I want to do is click on greater than, and I'm going to choose 5 because they won't allow you to do decimals. And so 5 pages, which is above the average pages per session. Then I'm going to click on and I also want to look at, not time on page, I also want to look at session duration that is greater than, and you can, again, knowing your website, but 180 seconds. And let's see what that does. Okay, so that takes us down to about 8,668 users, a little over 10,000 sessions, and about 14% of users. And so that's phenomenal. We're going to use this. We're going to call these people highly, I can't type, engaged. And we're going to save that session, or save that segment. Okay. So now what I can do is I can now take a look. I'm going to go down, and you're not going to be able to see this here. There we go. We're going to go down here to the conversions report, which is the very bottom of Google Analytics. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to scroll down. I want to look at, let's say, goals. Okay, so I'm just going to look at an overview of the goals. And so here are the goal completion locations. Here are the goal values. And so goals are things that we set as people who run the site, things that we want them to do. And so I know that they wanted, oh, there it is, goal 1, completions. They want people to complete. The purchase completed. They want engaged users. They want registrations, and they want people who enter checkout, and they have SMART goals as well that they set. And so I can take a look at these people who are highly engaged and look at their conversions. And then if I want to take a look at all users in comparison. Okay, and so they're not performing very much different or very differently than people who, just general people. But it's no surprise that people who are highly engaged tend to convert at a higher rate than just the general population, right? Because people who are highly engaged tend to want to do something. They want to actually reach a goal. Now, if we wanted to edit this, I just clicked on the drop down and clicked edit. Let's do something different. Let's say not engaged. Now there's a custom report or a custom segment that we could use. Now by changing this, just so we know, by editing this, I'm actually going to overwrite the highly engaged one. If you wanted to keep highly engaged and create a new segment called not engaged, you can certainly do that as well. So let's say I want to look at people whose page depth included only 1 page, right? So they're just there. Their session duration was less than 30 seconds. Okay, so these are people who come to our site, they hate us, and I guess we wouldn't say that they left, but they're only on our site a very short period of time. Now, what's your hypothesis as this is loading? How are they going to perform? Right, just like this. So not engaged is in the blue, all users are in the orange. So people who aren't engaged don't buy things, right? It's really hard for people to get on a site in 30 seconds and actually buy something, right? So abandonment rate, goal conversion rate, goal value. Basically, they're not doing anything we want them to do. Okay, so you can see how we can take a look at a couple of different segments and, again, make some decisions, compare some data, compare some information. My highly engaged people, and what I want to look at is site speed. I want to see if the site speed is different for highly engaged users versus all users. And so where I am is under behavior and then site speed. And I'm just going to take a look at overview. And so let's take a look. What I'm seeing is that the average load time is 0 for these folks. Basically, they're getting on, they're immediately getting their information from all of our pages. Internet Explorer, everybody, very highly or very quick access. And so you see here, Edge is a little bit slower for both folks. Safari, you have 3 seconds, but again, they're still faster. And so this is great information to be able to take to your IT team, your tech folks, and say, look at this. These are people who are converting. These are people who are buying our stuff. These are people who are highly engaged. The reason they're highly engaged is because they can get on our pages faster. So fix it. Shouldn't take somebody 9 seconds, right, to get there. And so that allows your tech people and you to communicate in a language that they understand. Okay, so the third section, so we've gone over acquisition, we've gone over conversion, we've gone over acquisition, we've gone over behavior. Now we're going to talk about conversions, or as your book, if you're using the book, and I say kind of interchangeably, outcomes or conversions, right? So outcomes are site activities that add value to your business or nonprofit. And so we've already been looking at some outcomes, like with our goal conversion rates, and purchases, but it really could be anything. So it could be a person who makes a purchase. It could be that's a macro, right? A macro outcome is the big picture, the thing that you want them to do. Micros are like the flagpoles along the way that indicate that they're engaged with your business. And we know from study, and again, this takes some time, we know from study that when they download something and then they sign up for our newsletter, that they're most likely to convert and buy something. But again, the micros are going to be different for your particular website. So for Mercyhurst, if people sign up for a campus visit, they look at the online tour, they read some academic information, they're more likely to apply. And so we have macro and micro conversions, but it could also be people who buy more or less. So you could look at quantity or revenue or goal value. It could be people who buy a specific product or complete a goal. It could be people who convert multiple times. It could be whatever outcomes you want to look at. Okay, so for pure e-commerce, it might just be e-commerce that you're looking at, because website, is built to get people to buy stuff. You can have, but it's not just about buying the product. So it's just not about buying the t-shirt. We might be having them try to get to more than one goal. Like I said before, these micro conversions, you want them to request a catalog or job request or join a community. This is where people screw up, because they just focus on, for example, at Mercy, they just focus on apply. I'm not saying that we do, but they just focus on getting students to apply. The problem with that is, we can actually remarket, retarget, go after, communicate with all the people who are doing things that we want them to do. And we spend time and money creating these experiences that we want people to look at online. And if they're not taking advantage of them, maybe we could be spending our time and effort other places. Or if it's important, we could be redirecting the traffic or making it more visible for them to be able to do. So one of the things that I want to take a look at is something called average order value, and that is in standard reports. Take a look at the average order value. Like I said, it's in the custom reports section. What we're going to do is go down here on the left-hand side. Remember, we're doing outcomes conversions, so as a hint, there it is in the conversion section. If you go to e-commerce, and then we're going to click overview. And here it is. So what you can see is that the average order value is $147.51. And you can also see that the e-commerce conversion rate is 1.75. And so what e-commerce conversion rate, I think we've talked about this before, but e-commerce conversion rate is a percentage of visits that result in an e-commerce transaction. This is a great proxy for the efficacy of your marketing and site design. Is your marketing delivering an audience that is primed to buy? And is your site designed to make purchasing easy for those users? Okay, so if this number continues to fall, something's wrong. Okay, and so while conversion rates vary from business to business, you can look at a little research into average conversion rates. Just takes you a little bit of effort in your area. And you can look at for your vertical, you can also look for your business and your size and get a good initial benchmark. And so how does this compare? Again, if you already understand the conversion rate for the business, you can use it to see how the current rate compares. And you can look at different date ranges, and the way to do that is up here. So are things changing? So we know 1.75 is from August 11th to September 10th. Now let's take a look at maybe June to July. And so we look at this, we can apply it, and from June to July it was actually worse. So we are happy that it's increasing and going becoming better, right? We want that conversion rate to be high. We also noticed that in June and July, the average order value was down. So using this, and I should also speak, the average order value lets you see how well you're closing each deal on your site. Are your product lists generating interest in multiple products? Are you cross-selling products? Are you successfully, if you're selling the, let's see, the Leatherette Journal, are you also selling the Fiji pens? Or how good is your multi-order discount?